Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Universal Lens. This is becoming the new way we start the show.
This is it.
Yeah, on the fly, baby. I hope everybody is well. Thank you for coming back. I'm losing track of what episode number it is, but it does not make a difference anymore. We just keep it rolling. Hope everybody caught last week's episode. It was a good one with about the college kids and checking in on your kids and how you can use mindfulness and an aware approach to to take their pulse, so to speak. So hope everybody checked that episode out. We thought it was a very useful and helpful one. And we're back for another lovely week.
Yeah, in a week, a lot has happened.
To try to impart some knowledge. Yes, a lot has happened.
Craziness, right? We have the guy I constantly refer to on the show, Scott Adams.
Yeah.
Basically the day that I don't know who's in charge of releasing the press release that Joe Biden had terminal prostate cancer. That very day, I think it was Friday. I think it was Monday.
Both came out the same day. Yeah.
Yeah. And Scott Adams said, well, it's something I got to tell you guys, because he was hiding it from the public. And so Scott Adams also has terminal prostate cancer. And he says, I expect to be gone by the summer.
So when you hear that, as well, look, so you've been a subscriber to his channel, somebody you've followed and kind of listened to his talks for years, I would assume at this point.
Almost 10 years.
So while you don't know the person, you've kind of built a mental relationship with who they are,
100%,
and their ideals and what they talk about, and obviously how it's helped you in your life and how it's helped you reframe things, right? And we've implemented, while I don't actively listen to Scott Adams, I know who he is, and I've watched videos of his, and I think he's a brilliant mind.
Yeah.
But we've used a lot of his, or actually we've spoken about a lot of his techniques on the show and how they kind of parallel what we talk about on a more, whether it's a more psychological or spiritual level, but like how it plays into it perfectly. Like reframing is was kind of one of his things, right?
And then the icon on the computer.
The icon on the computer, which for us is like, leave it's that watching and noticing that it's there.
It's there.
But leave it there and there's no need to grab it. So yeah, it's sad to hear that. But it's an unfortunate and yet fortunate part of life, because that's what makes life so beautiful.
Yeah.
Is that life does come and life does go. And, hopefully people who listen to him and have been listening to him and hear for me, like if Eckhart Tolle, I know he had a cancer diagnosis a year ago. Thankfully for him, he was able to get it taken out and he's cancer free.
Actually, also prostate, right?
Also prostate cancer, yes. Is cancer free. Like I can understand when you hear that somebody you watch and you look as and put them up in that category as a teacher, almost somebody who's imparting this
somewhere.
Yeah, who's imparting their knowledge onto you. It hits hard, when you hear that, obviously. Not that Scott Adams knows who we are, but if this was to reach his ears, just obviously our thoughts, prayers, and love are with him and his family, and and whatever he's going through. And to his credit, he is still doing his show.
Yeah.
Right?
He said, he goes, you all know, he goes, if you watched me long enough, he goes, you all know how headstrong I am. He goes, I'm headstrong, because my body might not be strong, but I'm headstrong, and I'll be doing this for as long as I could.
Yeah. So he'll try to continue doing his show in whatever form he can until, until it's time for him to,
it was funny because he works in mysterious ways. No pun intended. He would say he cites new studies every day on the news, and he would cite a study that said fembendazole. I don't know if you've heard of this. Fembendazole mixed with ivermectin. Ivermectin, I know you've heard from COVID days. So fembendazole mixed with ivermectin has cured certain cancers, and that was an article in the newspaper. He was just, again, this is way before his diagnosis. He goes, "Yeah, that's bullshit." And he would say, that's bullshit. He goes, it's bullshit because they don't bring the people who they healed. They tell you they healed. Who are they?
Yeah,
We want to
gotcha.
meet them.
Yeah.
We want to see what they took, and we want the next person. Then you got something going, because
Yeah.
otherwise you don't have anything. Now that he admitted that he goes, the reason I was able to say it's bullshit is because I did it. Because I reached out to Dr. Mackis. Apparently, Dr. Mackis is the guy who promoted. He goes, we were privately, I paid for everything and nothing. So no. So it's a lot of quackery. Not quackery, but everybody wants to be the first one there. Like, I got a cure for cancer. And reality is, if you did, like, it would be way bigger news. It would be
and that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate and it's happened in not just that world, it's happened in the world of obsessive compulsive disorder and anxiety, where you've had these people create Instagram posts saying things like, well, if you drink this and eat this and take these supplements, it will cure your OCD. And a lot of, and then you saw a flood of therapists and psychiatrists come out and say that is, and like professionals in the field who've been dealing with it for years say, that's horrible that you would put that out there and give people who have this doubting disease this false hope that this is going to give you a cure, instead of learning the proper way to, acclimate to the thoughts and be mindful and aware and reframe everything and create new neural pathways. Like, you're giving them this just to say, oh, I have something, get clickbait, try this, eat this supplement, I'm selling this supplement just to make money. I'm not saying this guy did that was done in that case, but it's I could relate with that, being somebody who, was experiencing this on this end. And then, I mean, I was already along my path. So when I heard that, I was like, okay. I'm like you're kind of playing with people's emotions when you do that, especially if people are raw and they don't, So that's sad when somebody does that.
In my older age, I enjoy science, and it seems like the older I get, the more I enjoy it. And who's to say? So obviously, we have dealt with our, let's say, our mental health issue through mindfulness, through seeking awareness, obtaining awareness, right? That's how we really transcended any mental ailment that could be holding us back, plaguing us, completely fogging us. And that's great. So we were able to prove to ourselves we're not the first one. We're not the
but it's a proven
right. You can get a million people and say you all did the same thing, and we all
because it works. It's real.
So the science question that I have with something supplemental or something vitamin or something along those lines.
Show me
I have a question. In science, I think curiosity is really where.
Well, that's what it's based on, theories, right? The theory of.
So I am curious: could there be a physical component that can be somewhat lead you down the same road where we ended up with the mental spiritual component? Like, could there be a deficiency of a certain mineral, of a certain vitamin, of a certain a combination that hits together that triggers this pattern that does this to a certain hormone that to a certain
so again, I'm not, neither of us are scientists, nor are we psychiatrists, nor are we therapists. But from what I have experienced in my life, and from the professionals that I've spoken to and worked with on my path, while deficiencies in certain things can cause certain side effects in your body, to say, and even if a certain side effect would be maybe this part of your mind reacts or overreacts or underreacts to things, it's the attachment at the end of the day that you give to that amplifies it. So let's just say, this is disclaimer, this is absolutely false what I'm saying.
Right.
Let's say vitamin B deficiency was known to blah, blah, blah with anxiety, cause anxiety. Again, I'm just making this up, right? Okay, maybe it triggers that part of your mind to make your amygdala a little bit more, whatever, a little bit more sensitive. Okay, great. But it's my attachment to when that happens without the awareness that allows me to go down the rabbit hole. So there's a lot of things in our bodies that are going to happen chemically and fluctuations chemically that certain things we take can help balance it out, but it's never a quick fix or a fix all. It's going to be a might help. Take more vitamin D might help you with that. Take vitamin this, it might help you with that. It's when people say, this is, if you take this, it'll make it go away.
Right. I mean,
and that's where I think it's sad on their part that they actually frame it that way.
Well, you've heard the herbs, the ashwagandha.
But and I'm sure that there is a benefit to taking those supplements, absolutely. But I'm of the belief that while our body, our chemistry sets, it's constantly fluctuating. So what works for you slightly might not work for me because my chemistry set's different than yours. So for somebody to say take vitamin this, acai, and this and that and the other thing, and it's going to cure that, it's going to make it go away. Well, maybe for you it helped you somewhat with that issue you were having, but for me it's not going to, because supplements work, but they're very, from what I know about them, right? They're tailored to my chemistry set. Like my vitamin D level is low, right? If comparatively speaking, it's like 20, it should be above 20. But if I go above too high with my vitamin D, more towards the normal level, I get very itchy. Oh. My body says your homeostasis is here. So like with with all these medications and supplements, and not that this is what we talk about, but for people who hear things online or on Instagram or on Facebook or whatever about some person who says, take this, it's going to take these 2 medicines, it cures cancer. I always say, show me the data. Like Dr. Joe Dispenza, what he does, a lot of people take and leave what he says.
I know.
And now he's starting to try to build data to prove it more and more and more. Okay, great. When the data is out there, but the benefit of what he does, by the way, in and of itself, the meditative benefit is phenomenal. Then whether it actually unlocks this or helps you with that, or that data is he's starting to try to accumulate, but it takes time to build up that data to say, listen, we had 10,000 patients, 20,000 patients, 30,000 patients. Here is the scientific data to prove it. Let it be checked out by other people. Let other people prove it and say, okay, you know what? He's right. It does work. All right, beautiful, great. Doing this has that benefit. But when people tell you to take something and I use Dr. Joe for a reason, because you're not taking anything. It's meditation, right? Which in and of itself is a phenomenal benefit for your body anyway, and for your mind and for your overall outlook on life. But for people who say take these medications or take these supplements, remember, I think everything is tailored to you. Like I said, for me, vitamin D at 20 for one person might make them feel lethargic. But my level of vitamin D, where it is, I'm fine. When it goes too high, I know if I take vitamin D supplements, and if I take too many, meaning the day after day one, not like 1,000 milligrams, whatever the daily dose would be, I start to get itchy. My body reacts like that to it. But at a certain level, it's okay. I feel perfect. I don't notice a difference. So I have a hard time when people throw that stuff out there and
I think you're going to have people throw out every day. There's something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every day.
Welcome to America.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think the key, basically where it all kind of boils down to, the end of the funnel is the vulnerability of the person that you're targeting. So we make reference to all the time. We do this show, we put our time into it, but it's not going to reach somebody who is not willing to admit that they want help, is not willing to admit they have a mental health issue at all.
Yeah, agreed.
Is not willing to admit that. So if you have a person that doesn't have according to them, doesn't have anything wrong, or somebody that may have something wrong, but is not ready to come out with it, is not ready to address it. So what happens is the people that are suffering, whether it be from mental health or whether it be from a health issue, physical health issue, maybe they're overweight, maybe they have whatever, vitamin D, whatever it is, those are vulnerable people And when they see a study or whatever it is, that flavor of the day, that, oh my God, if I take this pill, I'll lose 20 pounds, say like
Whatever,
semaglutide or what, I forget the
other one.
Ozempic.
Ozempic.
It's semaglutide.
Which is semaglutide.
Right.
Semaglutide is just the medication.
So you can see how attractive those things are, and how we want to retrofit, work it backwards. We will justify it backwards, why we have to take this, why we must take this. And in reality, if you just would have practiced this, the whole, at least for mental health, obviously, and by the way, there's a case to be made that it affects your physical health, but because the mind and the body are
that case to be made. There's a direct correlation between
100%. 100%. You know what? I haven't checked my cholesterol in a while. And so you're I'm vitamin D too, vitamin D deficient,
which is very common. That was just an example, just to show like.
But I'd love to see, because
comparisons.
My blood pressure was never horrible, but I'm 45, and I do have a fair amount of stress, and my blood pressure is on point.
Good.
Which is weird, because I don't limit salt. I don't do anything like that.
It's not weird. It's look at the relationship you have.
Good. Exactly.
Look at the relationship you have. And this is kind of where I think we were going with the show, with your stress. The relationship you have with your stress is you don't absorb it. You deal with whatever stressful situation. A situation could be stressful, but do you get stressed or no?
Right.
Which is a difference.
Right.
Which is a difference. And what you were saying with the people who are vulnerable to taking them is because, or looking for those quick fixes, is because there's a certain lack of level of awareness there, where they don't realize that if it's, there's an old saying, if it sounds like a duck and it walks like a duck,
talks like a duck,
it's not a goose,
yeah,
it's a duck. Yeah. So like if you're looking at something, and you get this, this thing pops up in your feed and it says, new study proves that blah, 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 cures OCD. And I use that one again as an example, because like therapists came on and went after this person, like say what you are doing is damaging to people who experience and live with OCD, because you're giving them false hope, and you're taking them away from the proven techniques that free you from it and let you live a better life than you could have ever experienced before. Because you're telling them, take these 3 vitamins, or take this supplement, or take this one medication,
and mushrooms,
or whatever, and it cures it. Like, not cures it, like it's not even labeled as a benefit. That is very poor taste for these people to do. But with awareness, if you're a mindful and aware person, you have the capacity now to see that and be like, all right, let me look into it. Let me research it. Let me speak to professionals in the field and see get their take on it. And people who do this for a living every day could look at you and be like, yes, no, maybe, try, blah, blah, whatever the situation might be. But if you don't have that awareness, you get like, hook, line, and sinker.
The more the awareness, the less the vulnerability.
The lesser vulnerability.
That is interesting.
Sure, because if you're an awakened, enlightened, aware, present, conscious, I'm running out of adjectives, words, a person who lives their life that way, you kind of have a bullshit filter. Now, all of a sudden, like and when I say a bullshit filter, I know people like, well, I can call bullshit. I don't have to be like, I know when you're lying. No, like you'll sit there because you'll hear your story to why you want to attach to it. It's your own bullshit filter, not even the bullshit that you're being fed.
Yeah.
Becomes your own personal bullshit filter, because you're like, wait, now my mind wants to tell me how, like, if I do this, it's perfect and everything's going to be great. My mind's going to create this story. You're able to temper that and be like, okay, sounds attractive. Maybe let me look into it. But you don't right away dive into the pool head first and realize there's no water and you smash your head on the concrete at the bottom, right? You kind of walk into it. But without that awareness, you lack that ability to be able to see things through that, and realize, well, is this is it too good to be true? Is it something that my mind's going to just attach to and want to run with? Am I going to have the ability to be able to discern between, okay, is this just propaganda or is this actual something that's factual?
You just waded into, I hate to poke the bear, but you just tag teamed into the situation with the news and what they're doing to people and their vulnerability and the hysteria they cause. God forbid politician A tied his shoes wrong, or politician B farted the wrong way. And that attention and that amount of maniacy, I don't know, mania is
we make words up sometimes.
Yeah, it's just it's nuts. So if you are aware, you catch everything. You see everything happening.
But you have to be willing to let go of everything you believe to be
correct, because
true at one point, and be like, okay, drop everything, and let me hear everything without reacting, and I'll formulate a response to what I'm hearing.
Right.
Instead of and it's repetitive every week, like it's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same, but like you hope people have listened enough where they realize what the benefits are, that it does allow you the ability to filter certain things out, to filter whether it's media or people in your life or toxic work environments. So you have the ability now to realize this is something that's not beneficial for me. This might have a benefit for me, because the stories our mind's always going to give us is always a story of, how do I get there? How do I get there really fast? How do I make everything perfect? Like, that's what our mind wants to do. How do I keep John alive? How do I keep Henry alive? How do I keep this going perfectly? Like, I need to have ultimate control over this and what happens and how it happens. So a guy like Scott Adams, who's told he has months to live. I mean, the summer's in a few weeks.
Around the corner.
Could be a month. It could be whatever it is. Right. Hopefully it's longer than that and something miraculous happens for him. Like, how does he digest that without buying all? Because I'm sure there's a story in his head that's gloom and doom, meaning, what do I do? Panic, hair on fire. Instead, he's actually honing that in and becoming a very present person and living life now in this moment, not concerned with what his mind's telling him about tomorrow and the day of tomorrow. Because that's the beauty of it, is we don't know. And that not knowing sometimes is liberating. And some people, I mean, he's a guy who's gotten it for years. Some people, when they get to that point, is when they do kind of awaken. Yeah. And it's sad that they awaken at the finish line. It's like you've lived your whole life, blindfolded, but now at the finish line, you went like this and you go, oh my God, I was blind to actually what was happening in front of me in life as it was unfolding, and the experiences, everyday life, and not getting caught up in the checklist, or figuring out, or trying to, control everything.
It was useless. When you're on your deathbed.
None of that matters at the end of the day. None of that matters when you're on your deathbed. When you get news that you only have days to live, what do people do? They start living life.
Yeah, it should be the other way around.
It should be the other way around. So why do we have to wait until
we don't know better?
We do know better.
We do. Well, we do. We have the ability to know better.
No, so there is a knowing that knows better, and I honestly believe every person has it there, and they hear it from time to time. But they don't pay attention to it because they pay attention to the louder voice that says, my laundry is more important, painting the door is more important, washing my car is more important, making sure my kids are the smartest, and making sure my Timmy is the best athlete on the team is more important, or that my car is better than his car is more important, or that, my ego gets more light, shined on it than his ego, and I'm better than you, or he's better than me, or my guy's better than your guy, or this party's better than that party, or my religion is better than your religion. You realize that all means nothing at the end of the day. Nothing. Like, whatever's happening now is where you're living your life, right? And practically, yeah, you could do things, you could accomplish things, and we've said this a million times on the show. But how does picture yourself. Like, this is a great exercise. Like, picture this as you, and you were just told you have days to live. And let that sink in for a second.
Right.
Like, let it
Not
really,
superficial.
not superficially. I have days to live. Well, I would go jump out of a plane and I go spend every money penny I have and live and not care anymore. No, let it sink in. Like, you won't exist in 4 days. You won't. You won't be here. Your bubble, as Eckhart Tolle says, is going, and you pop. Like the gazillions and gazillions and gazillions of people before you who have popped
every day, right now.
Since the day the human being was created and put on this planet.
Yeah.
How would you react? Would you honestly now? Would you look at the news and go, "Wow, I don't need that. Like, why am I wasting my time with this?"
Right.
Or whether it's a toxic person at work or somebody who lives rent free, as the kids say, in your head. Why do I allow this person to live? And you learn how to. And there was the meme that we watched, right?
That's it.
You learn how to that professor who says, how to put it down, right? It was the one where he gives a glass of water and he asks the students, how heavy is his glass with the water in it? 8 ounces, 16 ounces, whatever. And he goes, the absolute weight of the glass doesn't matter. If I hold it for a few minutes, it doesn't do anything. If I hold it for an hour, my arm starts to get achy. If I hold it for a day, my arm is now paralyzed and I can't do nothing with it anymore. He goes, it's not the weight of the glass. He goes, how long am I holding it for? And he uses the stresses of life as an example. So if there's something that's stressing me or a work issue, whatever it might be, if I think about it for a few minutes, it's fine. We all do that. If I think about it for a few hours, it starts to weigh on me. If I think about it all day long, that's exactly how he said it, all day long, because I become paralyzed and can't do anything. So he goes, put it down. And that's how it ends. But so metaphorically, put it down is great. But do people know how to put it down? So when somebody's given their death sentence, like you only have, doctor says, unfortunately, Mr. Blah, 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 Mr. Adams, sorry, you maybe have 2 months to live before this takes you. Now you know what you're forced to do? You're forced to go like this.
Actually, John, could it be possible that you're not forced to do it? It's done for you. That's a better way to put it. The same driving force says, okay, ride's over.
And now you listen to that force because it changed its story?
What is happening? I just lost my whole physical life. Stressing, burning out, worrying upon worrying and just wrinkling myself to death, literally, so that when death does come knocking on my door, we're ready to live now. Because we're dying soon. Now let's go live.
I don't have statistics. I'd say 8 out of 10 people, that's how they go out.
And like the song, Live Like You Were Dying?
Live Like You Were Dying, which is a great, Tim McGraw. That's a great song.
Which is a great song.
It's a great song. It's about a guy who gets a diagnosis, the x-rays are, and what would I do? And he uses a lot of, there's a lot of things he would do. I would write
Astronaut.
But he says I would give forgiveness I haven't been giving, right? I would make a phone call to a friend I had, like, why did we wait until I'll make you guess what the reason is. If you're watching the show, you should know it by now. You have no what? You're not aware that your mind is just feeding you stuff to do because that's what it wants to do, but it keeps you from actually experiencing life. It keeps you from forgiving that person. It keeps you from making that phone call because you believe the egoic thinking. You believe that mind that says, I'm right, I'm this, my guy's better than your guy. You believe all those stories. But when that's stripped away from you, when somebody says, it's done in 2 months, and you said that force kind of changes its tune. And I said you're kind of forced to, you just forced to change the way you look at it. It's because it's stripped away from you. It's taken away. Like that is just taken away. Now your mind goes into a different mode of, well, that doesn't make a difference anymore. All right. But now you're 75 years old and where have you been for the last 70 years of your life? Yeah, you've done a lot of things, but have you ever been present or aware of awake for any of them? Like, have you been there watching your kid, like literally watching your kids grow up, watching friends come and go in your life? Have you been there to give forgiveness to somebody, even when your mind was telling you, why should I forgive him? He insulted me. And then all of a sudden on that day, when you're given that news, you know what your mind changes its tune? We should forgive Tommy. It's been long enough. We should make amends before we die. Why do we wait until that point to make those amends? Why do we wait until that point to change our tune in life when you could do it starting today?
Screw Tommy.
You could see life differently starting today. And I'm not saying like your thought pattern is your thought pattern will change when you get that news because it's forced to.
Yeah, it's just
That's it. It's forced to change.
it'll do it.
It'll do it for you.
Yeah.
It'll do it for you. But how about you do it before? How about you learn how to put that bottle down today, that glass down today that's weighing you so heavy?
That's the part. That's the part that I think is difficult for people to even admit. It's difficult for people to even admit. I've had very deep conversations with people that I love, that I'm watching suffer, and that I know I can help. I don't ask, us in the beginning, especially me, we would be forceful about, you have to do what I'm doing.
I was for half a minute too. Yeah, absolutely.
So, there's people in my life that, I don't see them often, but when I do, I know they're suffering because they're lifelong sufferers.
Yeah, you can't change that sometimes.
And I almost think that just becomes their identity.
Sure it does.
So that's part of their identity. And I offer myself to those people and I say, look, I'm open, watch the show, and I'm open for any questions, anything you want to talk, I'm there. And they say the right things, but then they go do. They just keep going on their.
Why do they say the right things? Because I said what I say before. There's that knowing in each and every one of us. There's a part of us in us innately, soul, spirit, whatever you want to say, that understands there's more to experiencing life than just getting shit done or holding grudges or being right. There's more. And when we say the word knowing, the knowing isn't a voice. It's not your mind. It's that's where the mind, heart, are connected. There's something there that says, I want to live a different life.
Correct. And my tactic is usually to tap into that. But I watch them doing this the whole time they're doing this, and I'm like, okay, so are you ready? And like, oh yeah, all right. Are you ready to put it down? Oh yeah. Well, one day. And it's like that, and it's trauma. In this case of a particular loved one that I have is just trauma, just childhood trauma.
Sure.
Parental trauma.
I'm sure.
And
it's something tough to digest. I get it.
Beautiful people that are young. They have a whole life ahead of them. And no matter how much they say the right things, they're going to hold this while they're talking to you.
And why are they holding it?
And then you're wondering, like, okay, well, let's start by putting it down for a minute. Let's start for a minute. Just put it down. Oh, I will. Yeah, no, when I'm ready. Right now, I'm not ready. What do you? Like, okay, all right.
Well, there's a loss of identity if they put that. Yeah. There's a loss of identity if they put that down. Most people are afraid to come to realization that they're not their mind. Like they're not their thinking mind.
It's tough to, it's tough.
I've said this since day one. It's the easiest thing to do. It's the hardest thing to do until you realize it's easy to do it. So it feels really difficult until you realize it's super easy to actually do it.
Yeah.
To let go of that identity, who you think you are, who you believe you are, the name you think you were given, all that. I realize that's your description, right? That's just your description. That's not who you actually are. It's just a description of the person, but it's not who you actually are. So I say, when that person says to you, and they say all the right things, is because there's something in them that's yearning to realize. There's something in us that yearns to want to be more, not more successful, more than just this avatar that we think we have to play every day, whether it's, I'm the one who always gets picked last. I know. That's just who I am. Well, I'm okay with it.
I think there's fear.
Sure.
On the other side of the line. There's fear that they don't know who they are on the other side of the line. Or I'm going to be somebody else. I'm going to change. I'm going to be...
That was a fear of mine. Would I lose my personality?
I'm going to be... What? I'm going to be something else, somebody else. So that fear, I think, is... they're more comfortable holding this here
saying this is who I am.
Hey, I'm good. Yeah, trust me, I've known this forever, and I'm good. You're good. Cuckoo, cuckoo. I'm good. You're good. Cuckoo, cuckoo. Like, okay. I mean, everybody around you loves you, but we know you're suffering. You're saying you're suffering.
Why wouldn't you pose that to whoever this person is? Pose that question to them, like I just said to the camera before. Put yourself in a situation like Scott Adams has, and visualize for a second. Somebody just told you you only have X amount of time to live, but really, like, try to really anchor into that for a few minutes and let it sit in. What it would feel like to get that news and see what comes up. Like you're going to see that a letting go of a lot of nonsense will be one of the first things that wants to bubble to the surface all of a sudden. A letting go of, why am I stressing this? Why am I stressing that? Why am I stressing the other thing? Why am I stressing blah, 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 blah? All of a sudden, and you want to give forgiveness you've been avoiding your whole life. You want to all of a sudden. Why?
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah.
Because the ego, I mean, Eckhart Tolle explains this really well. At that point, the ego starts to die on its own, because there's no more identity for it to eat off of. It knows the identity's gone. At this point, I'm dying. So the ego automatically starts to burn off at a really rapid rate. And you know what comes up? Whatever word you want to use, your soul, your presence, your conscience, that part of us that gives us life starts to come up and wants to do these beautiful things, wants to give forgiveness, wants to smell a rose, wants to experience a sunset without the images and the words and the stories of, oh, I'm on vacation, this is great, an Instagram photo. Like, it wants to just be present all of a sudden. If I said you could have that today, and you could, even with the stresses of life, you could live your life like that today, why wait until the finish line to realize you missed the whole journey?
Yeah. That's your biggest regret, and you don't know it.
Because you can't take, by the way, your accolades, your trophies, your money, your cars, your ego, what you think you are, what you think you have, who you think you are, who you think thinks you're better than. That means at the end, that burns off, like that, gone, done. Now you realize what you actually are, and you realize, wow, I've lost all this time not being able to live life a certain way. And a guy like Scott Adams, I think he's had that. So there's an acceptance of him going into this next phase of life for him, or whatever you want to call it. Because and I'm not saying he doesn't have thoughts, scary thoughts, or he doesn't fears. Of course, as a human being, they're still going to kind of be there. But I think that from what I've heard, you showed me a couple of clips before, if I'm talking for a while, there's an ultimate acceptance there of just going to the finish line of life, right? Because he's also been living that way for years, where he's been able to see how the mind works and understand it, and maybe from a different perspective than we kind of use here, obviously. But the parallel is there.
I always bring them up, even in private, because it seems like we walk a similar road. They're just different roads.
Yeah.
But we walk similar roads. This is like we always talked about a religious road. So we walk the same road as religion, no matter what. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We end up at the same place, which is, that tranquility of the mind, in our case, the reduction of the ego, which lets your true self, what we call the watcher or the soul, whatever it is you want to, the real you, underneath the layers of ego and the layers of other stuff. And one of the first things you'll realize when you live like you were dying is forget about the big stuff, because the big stuff, obvious, big stuff, but it's the little stuff, the stuff that before would set you off. It doesn't have that control over you anymore. I'm talking about, like,
it's not important at that point.
Right. I'm talking about little stuff. So for me, the little stuff I'll share with you. Traffic. So I'm a guy who I've been driving for I don't know how many years now.
Oh, I hate traffic.
For some reason.
I'm with you.
No, not even traffic. For some reason, John, I have to drive 35,000 miles a year in my vehicle. For some reason, that's just the way this works. So that's a lot of driving.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of putting up with a lot of
different people and going 20 and a 40. Yeah.
I got to tell you, there used to be a day where you come up behind me and you're up my ass in the bumper, even today, I'll feel a sense of triggering, and it goes away.
You watch it. You watch the
Immediately.
trigger go away.
Yeah. And the same way with the guy who is up your ass, ready for a minor inch to go on the right to pass you, even though you're online yourself and you can't go past the guy in front of you anyway. But they're gonna do it, and they wedge in front of you. Back in the day, piss me the fuck. We're going at it. I'm gonna glue myself to the front bumper, the back bumper of that guy. You're not getting in. Today, that's not gonna bother me, man. That's not gonna be.
No, you're not gonna have that reaction.
Right. That's not gonna be the reason I. No. So I keep, let's say, getting closer to that ultimate mindset, but just for the simple fact that those things don't affect you daily, I'm in a better spot because, again, I'm human. We're all human. And that's the first part you got to understand is we're going to have those knee-jerk reactions, but we also have the ability to observe what we're doing and that we have a choice to make right now. We can fly off the handle or we can not. And I don't know. That's one of the magical skills of mindfulness.
It is, and kind of circling back to what we were saying before. Those are the benefits. Why not implement them now in life? Why wait until we're given horrific news to realize that we can let go of all our bias, all the anger, all the resentments, all the stances and everything that we've had our whole lives, and forgiving people who we could have forgiven and maybe mended a relationship. Why do we wait until we're told, oh, this is the end of the ride. You're getting off next week. You're getting off in a month. You're getting off in 2 months. See you there. Bye-bye. Like, why do we wait until then to come to that realization? Because the human mind is built that way.
Yeah.
So if you could do a little bit of work in your life and realize that everything we see is our own interpretation of what we perceive to be as reality. Everything we think is our mind's own interpretation. Don't become that mind. Don't become that interpretation. Notice it. And then the more you do that, the more that noticing, that awareness becomes apparent to you and a more prominent part of your life. And now you start to have this almost a duality where this is my mind and this is who I am. Like, okay, this is my mind. And this is why, not to say that at times the mind doesn't pull close and want to drag you. Of course it's going to, because it could be a very strong pull at times. Absolutely. But like, I know I could tell you, I've given forgiveness to people that 10, 15 years ago, I never would have. Like, I never would have. And I'm not saying that there aren't toxic people that we have in our lives that we say, all right, you know what, this is a person I could forgive them, but I can't be around them because, right. And that's fine. You can make that choice, right. But I'm not telling you to put yourself in, forgiveness doesn't mean you put yourself in a toxic situation. You keep going back to it and right. Back to it, because as mindful as you are, that wears on you anyway, as a person, as a human being. But it's, why do we wait until that moment to understand all that stuff? Like, this might sound morbid, but and a lot of spiritual teachers speak about this. People become so enlightened at the end of their lives, naturally, because they know this is the end. And it's, as I said before, it's that egoic mind that thinks, I am this, I am that, I am John Emilio, I own this, I had that, I have this, I am this. When that falls away, because it needs to fall away at this point, you're left with one thing. This essence that was what we actually are, right? Imagine you could tap into that. Not imagine, you can tap into that at 18, at 19, at 20, at 25.
That's
I think changer. At a younger age, you might naturally have it, but then as the mind develops and the bias develops, it gets louder. So that kind of falls into the background. But I know kids in their 20s who have a decent amount of that already in their lives. And they're still kids and they do things that kids do, but it's there already. And that only grows the more that they anchor in it. So imagine these people at 40, at 50, they're going to be like, I've experienced life. I've lived life. Now that I've done things, now that I've gone places, now that I've been to destinations, now that I've had cars and I've gotten 3 promotions and I've bought 4 houses, I've experienced and lived things. I've forgave people. I'm happy for I could truly be happy for a person who does better at me than something, even though my egoic mind wants to say, why not me? That should be me. But I can still tell that person, I'm happy for you, man.
Yeah.
Because there's a part of you that says it, that really means it, even if your mind at the same time is barking, no, that should be us. That's how you know it's there. Like, I could look at somebody and be like, I'm so happy for you. And then there's a part of my mind that goes like this, why couldn't that happen to me?
Yeah.
Do I entertain that? No. I just go like this again. Because I feel something that comes up and says, I want to really be happy for you. I am happy for you. I love you, man. This is great. Like, that's the part of you that's dying. That's I love to say is trying to become brighter and brighter. But the more you listen to this, the less that happens more often.
Yeah.
But when you're told, I'm sorry, you got 3 months to live, that goes away, and now you're all of a sudden this peaceful, loving thing comes out. But you're at this point, you're at the end of the road, and you're about to go, and you're looking back, and you're like, the train ride, I missed it. There's so many things I would have said. There's so many people I would have contacted. This, so much I wanted to experience so differently in life, and I could have been like this for the last 70 years. Yeah. But media, life, social media in general, our environment keeps us bound.
Society in general. So, because society
doesn't let you out.
We've spoken about this. Society puts these invisible structures up, and we respect them. And that just means you can't have a real moment with somebody sometimes. You can't tell them you love them. You can't tell, because society, it's just,
you're perceived as weak. You're perceived as this. You're perceived as that.
It's like, we should be doing life in reverse. We should be born at 78 and
that's like Benjamin, what was that? Benjamin Buttons.
Yeah, with all the wisdom in the world. And then slowly we
become a baby.
Yeah, we become a baby.
And just disappear one day. Yeah.
No, I want to go back in where he came up. No, because that's my mom. No.
I didn't answer. I'm good where I am. Yeah, but it's like, you hope people hear, like, especially Scott Adams listeners, you hope to hear him speak and it imparts a little bit more knowledge on them to see life differently and to maybe make that shift now in life, right? To see life differently, to experience life differently, right? And it's, again, we've said this 1,000 times, it's not about not taking care of tasks in a functioning society. Of course, we're not all going to sit outside under a tree and spend our days like that, because we're not, okay, we need to survive. We need to function as a society. So we all have jobs and things we want to take care of, but you could do them mindfully. You could do them with presence and awareness, where you're experiencing everything that happens in your life. And by the way, your mind doesn't control you at that point anymore. It's there. It could be the annoying child that taps you on the back of the head like this constantly, but it doesn't control you, because you're like, okay, great. I choose not to listen to you right now. I choose not to engage you. It's as simple as a choice, right? It's as simple as a choice. Like, I have somebody who's very close to me who's going through cancer right now, right? And this person, we kind of message back and forth on text and Instagram, right? Somebody who's been very close to me, and we've had a lot of different conversations, and I've kind of given this person some guidance, and this person's already, I believe, was an aware person before it happened. There was a big level of awareness. Very religious person also. But one thing which I try to impart onto them is, you have a choice here. No, this sucks. Nobody's going to say it doesn't.
Right.
You have a choice to understand. You get to experience this however you want, right? Like, yeah, there's going to be the pain of whatever you have to go through. But the opposite of pain is you could choose the joy of experiencing life as it's happening.
Yes.
Right? Your children, your family, whatever it might be, your relationship with God, like whatever there is a choice you get to make. And by the way, that choice dictates the reality you're going to live. in spite of the pain and the crap you have to go through.
That's right.
Like Scott Adams says, he's in pain, but he's choosing to do the show because it's something he values and cares about. And there's a meaningful purpose for him to do that, right?
Yeah.
So you get that choice, but you only have that choice. You only realize that choice is there if you're aware, mindful, present, conscious, whatever word you want to use, right? Because they're all the same. You only realize you have that choice if it's there. Well, what choice do I have? I'm dying. What choice do I have? You have a choice to live the way you want to live. Like, I want to experience life for whatever it is and the beauty of it, even though I'm going through this and it's going to suck and they're going to be tough days. And, whether it's a health thing or a work thing or whatever thing, because there are always things in life, you get a choice to live a certain way. But realize it now. Don't wait until you're told, well, you got 3 months to live. And all of a sudden that choice comes to the forefront because everything else has fallen away and it's the only one that's left. It rises up and goes, I've been here the whole time. Now you're going to choose me because there's no other choices to make. Because everything, your mind at this point checks out, like you said before. It goes, oh, we're done.
It's over, guys.
Yeah, and you're left with this pure feeling there of acceptance. All of a sudden comes to you. You're like, where's this been my whole life? It's been there. You just haven't paid attention to it. Like it's not that it's not there. It's that we don't notice it's there because we're so, tied up in everything else that happens in our minds.
So we get a chance to decide if our life was composed of a bunch of meaningless shit mixed with some beautiful times, or a bunch of beautiful times mixed in with the sometimes meaningless shit.
Yeah.
Because, the meaningless shit just comes your way. It's life. Life's going to happen. But we have that ability to magnify or focus in or give our energy to certain parts and not other parts. So we can make it a life full of petty grievances mixed with the few things that happen along in life. You had children, or we can make it a bunch of beautiful scenarios and experiences mixed with the occasional petty grievance. I'll take this one.
Sure.
And
it's a much more beautiful way to live life.
Yeah. Again, we're not saying the petty grievances don't exist. We're not
everything. All that stuff exists.
But and going back to poor Scott Adams, he's the king. He's the author of Reframe Your Brain. So he knows a thing or two about reframing. He's the one that said,
I have to read God's Debris. You sent it to me?
Yeah.
I'm actually going to make a point to read it now.
So he, it is funny because, he was the guy that says, I don't believe in that being. I believe in the simulation theory. But when you read what he wrote,
what is a simulation theory?
When you read what he wrote,
it's still it's a word we use.
You get the impression that underneath the table,
it's there.
Yeah.
Right, but
you get the impression,
but because that's the beauty of that is whatever you want to call it. Whatever you want to call it, right? I'll call it God. God called himself I am, like we called him God. It's I am that I am, right? Yeah. So it's whatever you want to call it.
It's too much of a display of divinity for you to say that it's not something divine or big or big. At least the word big.
That divine that you just said is that knowing that we have inside. Like I can't say anything for a fact, because that's the beauty of life is we can't factually prove that. But that knowing that you have, like when you strip away the thinking mind and now people have this ultimate acceptance and they're willing and they want to experience life and they want to give forgiveness, where is that coming from? I say that's the divinity in us, are connected with I'll say God because that's the word that I resonate with, or Jesus or God or whatever word you want to use, because I know that relationship is there for me. I know it's there, but I could only know it's there, honestly, really know it there. Not like a Catholic person might say, and not that Catholic people don't have it. Of course they do, or Protestant or Lutheran, whatever you are. I don't care what your religion is. but I'll say, do you honestly know what that is, or do you know what it is through words you were told that this is what it is?
Right.
Like, I know what it is because there's a knowing inside of me that says there's more. And I could do that because I could park this aside and I could feel something within that guides me a certain way or comforts me a certain way. When you're told you're going to die and the egoic mind dies away and it burns off, and all of a sudden you're left with this other feeling that you've never felt before. That's it. That's what it is. It's just, how long do you want to wait to make that connection? Right? Now, mine might be more of a spiritual one. I'm not saying everybody has to do it that way or needs to frame it that way or use that word. It's not for me. That's for their personal decision. They want to have that relationship, they can. But that only happens if you allow everything else if you allow yourself to get that glass. And when you put that glass down and you let that arm rest, now you'll start to get that feeling back, and you'll realize, why have I been holding all this weight that my mind has said I have to hold? For what? What's the purpose? Where was the utility in any of that? Where was the purpose of any of that? Yeah, you accumulated stuff. You have all that money. You're great. Oh, you're beautiful. I've never seen a U-Haul behind the Hertz. We go, oh, where's he taking? He's taking everything with him. Oh, right?
Oh, you could.
You could. Well, when they park the U-Haul, okay, it's not coming with you, right? So,
and if it is supposed to go with you, then you're admitting that there's something greater, and you're so petty you're gonna bring that with you.
You might not get in, or whatever. That might not be the best way to approach it. But
when I go to heaven, I'm going to be the only millionaire in heaven.
Yes, that's it. You and Donald Trump, both of you. You and Trump will be up there in heaven. Nah, but it's just, we hope that people can change the way they look at life. And like I said, when he told me about Scott Adams yesterday, for me, kind of was like, wow, all right. And then we didn't even know what we were going to talk about today. And he showed me those clips and we just started. And I'm like,
yeah,
I know we started with the vitamins and the minerals and the supplements you could take and all that stuff. But watch how things always come back to that one topic. Right?
Yeah.
We could bounce around in different areas of it, but it's always the same thing when we come to it at the end of the show. It's why do you want to, for today's show, why do you want to wait until the end to realize you have this beautiful thing now, and you could go upstairs and experience life, or go wherever you are and experience life in a different way, and not wait until you get some horrible news or go through some traumatic event that pushes you through it. I mean, suffering is a very popular way for people to realize that, whether you're a religious person or just a spiritual person, right? It's a very popular way to go through, because when you suffer is when you usually, when that part of your mind kind of breaks a little bit, and
that's when the window
opens, the doors open up, and they're kicked open for you, and you kind of notice it. That was my way in, right? I was a religious person growing up, God, and I always thought, I had a relationship with God, but my mind was still always in the forefront. I was very mind driven, and my mind driven brought me to so much suffering that I realized, wow, like, life is a whole different experience nowadays. Even with the trials and tribulations that I have to go through as a person, life is different. Like, there's a different feel to it. There's a different experience to it, than there used to be before. And like, I implore people to do it, because, and a lot of people don't want to hear it and they don't want to listen. Like you said before, that person, like they're sitting there and I'll put it down when I'm ready to put it down. Might be too late when you're ready.
Right. You think you're going to put it down tomorrow, the next day, next month. Well, I'll tell you what, you might want to clip this out, just like you might want to clip out the last thing you said, which is great. But for all the people that are holding this, holding their water and refusing to let it go, well, sometimes you need a little catalyst, and maybe this episode might have been that catalyst. We're here. We invite you to join us every week. Message us, call, whatever you want to do with us. We're here. This is what we do. We devote our time to this because we love it, and we want to see as many converts as possible because your life is going to drastically change. So we invite you to come put down your glass of water or your jug of water, whatever it is that you're carrying with you.
Put down the weights.
Yep, put it down. And if you need to contact us, hit us up. We love doing this. We love to talk to people that are in the very crossroads of to be or not to be. And we guarantee you put that down and you try for a little bit and you practice and you work on it. And then you realize that there's a separation between your mind and yourself. You're going to experience something that, wow, you wish you would have done this day one. And you wish you would have done this, but that's okay. There's no, what do I say? Don't look back.
There's no wrong time.
Right. There's no wrong time. Don't look back.
You know when the best time to do it is?
Right now.
Now.
When's the best time to start a diet?
Now.
Monday?
You didn't start it now?
No.
And you didn't start it now? Okay, start it now.
Right.
You didn't start it now. You didn't start it now. Start it now. Wait,
right.
You want to start it now?
Monday.
Now. It's
Monday.
And by the way, when you start it Monday, you know when Monday's going to be? Now.
It's the now of Monday.
Start it now. So don't wait until the next now. Start it on this now. Like start changing your life now. Like now. Start it now.
Right.
You get the point? Start changing your life now.
Yeah.
Don't wait until something has to happen. Don't wait until you have to break and start changing the way you look at life now. And there's tons of stuff you could do out there besides our show.
Yes.
Tons of stuff. There's books you could read, spiritual teachers you could follow, great therapists you could follow who speak about mindfulness on a daily basis.
Yep.
There's so much out there. Like, immerse yourself in that world and watch how life changes.
Yes, and please, it's not taboo. It's not taboo. Every single person has a mental health, let's say, concern, issue, some sort of thing that they carry from the past, some sort of stressor, some sort of, I don't know, you name it. We all have something. But it's not taboo. It's okay. The more you come to the realization that you can put something down, and then you do, and then you realize, oh my God, this whole time, my mind dictated what I was doing. Now it's me watching, hey, like you said, it's a tool. I could actually employ this.
Yeah.
And on certain things, but it's me employing this, not this employing me. And it's a great thing. And I would hate to see you obtain it on your deathbed when everything's too late then. I mean, nothing's too late. God bless. Enjoy the 2 months, the 2 weeks, the 3 months, whatever it is. Enjoy it. But there's a whole bunch of family members and friends and coworkers that can benefit from a real aware you. That you could have changed their life. You could have changed your life. You could change the course of history.
Also takes away the fear of death. Takes away the fear of death because when that part of you burns off and dies off and you're not attached to it anymore, the mind is scared to die. What we actually are isn't, and you can't explain why it's not. It's because there's something greater than, right? There's something that consciousness, the soul, right? Again, whatever word resonates with you, it's not scared of that because it knows it's just going to transform into something else.
There's a piece.
There's a piece in us that leaves us when we die. So like the mind is scared to die, but if you could, and Eckhart Tolle says it best, he goes, learn to die before you die. And what he means is let the ego, when you learn to let go of your egoic mind and you let the ego burn off, that peace starts to become, that serenity, that feeling starts to become more apparent. And now it's there on a daily basis. Like you're connected with something that most people in this world aren't connected with on a daily basis. Like you're connected with something higher, something more powerful, something that gives us life and allows us all to work, and things start to look differently. And you start to notice similarities between a leaf in the palm of your hand or a tree roots in your veins. And like you start to pay attention to these things. And you start to see like a master plan of this beautiful planet that we live on and how life interacts with itself.
Yeah.
But you don't look at things that way until you allow that to burn off and to kind of go bye-bye.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was a happy episode, but still, no, it had a, sometimes you have to discuss the things that are not just about, okay, well, work or this or that, but something as scary as death or something as tragic as the death. But even in death, there's new life. Like, you don't have to wait till then to experience it.
And so Scott Adams.
Yes. I don't have my drink, but yes.
My man.
Yeah, man. It's, again, we're sad to hear it. But it's not the end for him. So I hope everybody forget about enjoyed this episode. I hope everybody got something out of this episode and gave you something to chew on and think about.
Really? Chew on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna go chew on some dinner. All right. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll check you guys out next time. Peace. The insights and discussions that we speak about on our show are our own opinions and based on our life experiences. If you or someone in your family or someone you know is suffering and in need of help, please get them that help through medical attention or seeking proper therapy. Again, what we speak about are based on our experiences and not intended to be taken as a form of therapy. Thank you.